Let us understand the uses of the data table V1, V2, and V3 components. First, navigate to the form list and click on the Edit button for the desired form. Now drag and drop the data table V1 component into the form design area. Navigate to the Attributes section and enter a unique data table ID. Then provide a label that will be displayed as the table name. You can enable or disable the Download Excel and Download PDF options based on your requirements. In the column section, configure the table columns by providing the header key and header value for each column. If additional columns are required, click the Add Column button and configure them accordingly. You can also enable edit and delete actions to allow users to modify or remove records directly from the table. Next, provide the API URL from which the table data should be retrieved. Now save the configuration, then finally save the form. Once the form is deployed and made available on the platform, users can enter the required data into the form. After submitting the data, the records will be displayed in the data table below the form, allowing users to view and manage the submitted information. Here, you can edit or delete the records displayed in the data table. Now let us move on to the data table V2 component. Navigate to the form list and click on the Edit button for the desired form. The form designer will open. Next, drag and drop the data table V2 component into the form design area. Provide a label ID for the component and then navigate to the Attributes section. Select the required table mode. Next, select the form from which the data should be displayed. You can enable or disable the following options as needed: Download, Excel, Download, PDF, Enable, Edit Action, Enable Delete Action. In the column section, you do not need to manually enter the header key and header value. The available columns will be displayed in a drop-down list, and you can simply select the required fields. The column information is automatically fetched from the API. Once the configuration is completed, click Save and then click Final Save to save the form. After the form is deployed and made available on the platform, users can enter the required data into the form. Upon submission, the records will be displayed in the data table V2 component below the form. Users can then view the submitted records and, based on the configured permissions, edit or delete the records directly from the data table. Now let us move on to the data table V3 component. First, navigate to the form list and click on the Edit button for the desired form. The form designer will open. Next, drag and drop the data table V3 component into the form design area. Provide the label name for the component and then navigate to the Attributes section. Select the required table and then choose the form from which the data should be displayed. Based on your requirements, you can enable or disable the following options: Download Excel, download PDF, and custom action. In the Attributes section, configure the table columns by specifying the header key, header value, label type, and any additional settings required for the column as shown on the screen. If additional columns are required, you can add and configure them accordingly. Once the configuration is completed, click the Save button and then click Final Save to save the form. After the form is deployed and made available on the platform, users can enter the required data and save the form. The submitted records will be displayed in the Data Table v3 component below the form. Depending on the configured permissions, users can view, edit, or delete records directly from the data table.